All right, so when you pin them, make sure that you have it where you want it and that it's straight. I actually just took these little teeth off. What I'm gonna do is sew a line for a mouth on there, and then I'll add the teeth once I've sewn that line. Okay, so now we're ready to start sewing. Can you believe it? Okay, now I just have 2 colors of string. I have black and white, and I might switch back and forth. Like when I sew the little black part of my eye, I might actually use black for that. And I know that I'm gonna use black for my mouth, but I think I'm gonna use white for going around my shapes and stuff like that. So you're gonna need your string. You are, of course, going to need a needle, right? Which I have right here. Now the needle is different from the pins because the needle has a little hole so that you can put the string through the hole, right? Can you see that? Maybe. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my white. So I'm just gonna take some white string. You don't want it to be too long. This is a little bit less than an arm's length of string. And now if you're really good at this, you can just put the string right through the hole, right? If you need a little bit more help, what I did was I used a little Post-it note and I cut it. You can see how it's folded. So this little Post-it note threader is gonna just fit right through the eye of my needle and I'll be able to pull my thread through. So let me show you how to do that. So you just open that up a little bit. You're gonna take the very end of your string and lay it down kind of like a little hot dog and then close it. You see how the end of my string is sticking out there? So what I'm gonna do is just pull it so that it's inside the fold of the threader. Now I'm just gonna stick this paper through the eye of the needle, pull it, and look at that. My string is on my needle. All right, so now I'm just gonna set my threader to the side for when I need it later. Now I'm going to tie my 2 ends together. So you can see my needle is still on there. And we're gonna tie this together. The way that I tie this is I just make a loop, you see that? And then I put the end back through the loop. Just like that. It can be a little fiddly because thread is very thin, right? Okay, so I have 1 little knot in there. Now what I like to do, 1 knot is usually not enough. This needle that I'm using is a little bit bigger. It's a little bit thicker than some needles. So I'm going to tie this again. Now I'm putting my thumb right on the spot where I tied it before. I'm gonna circle around my thumb so that it makes a loop. Put the end through the loop, and then I just kind of try to carefully adjust it so that it goes back to the same spot. So I get a bigger knot there, right? I'm gonna do it 2 more times just to make sure my knot is big enough. Okay, do it 1 more time. All right, so I've done it 4 times, so it should be big enough. Let's find out. So when you're ready to sew, I've tied my knot, my needle is on the thread. For this part, since we're doing the face and the body, you are just gonna be sewing it onto the 1 piece of the body. This other piece, I just have that off to the side, okay? So I'm using white, so let's start. I'm gonna go around my eye first. Actually, no, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do my heart first. So because I have the knot in there, I wanna start on the back of my fabric and go up through. So you can just kind of poke your needle, make sure that you're in the right spot. You want it to be on the very edge of the heart, or whatever shape you're doing. Pull it through, and it should stop when it gets to the knot, which you can see it did. My knot was big enough. So I'm gonna do what's called a running stitch. So I'm just gonna go all the way around this shape on the outside of it. And since I came up, then I'm gonna go down, pull that through. Sometimes you might get caught like this. I kind of got caught on his arm. That's okay. Just move it. Okay, so you can see that little stitch right there. So with a running stitch, you just keep going. You come back up from the back. Make sure it's where you want it to be. And then back down. So you just go up and down, up and down. And you can see with the running stitch, there's a little bit of a gap there in between those two stitches because you've got part of that on the back, right? And I'm trying to make my stitches kind of small because the smaller that you make them, the more secure it's going to be. So if I made my stitches really big and far apart, there's a pretty good chance that it's gonna end up falling off. Okay, and I can switch to the back. It looks pretty good. Sometimes your string will get tangled, and you know, that just happens sometimes. And sometimes you just have to stop and start it again. Sometimes you have to ask the teacher, right? Or your parents if you're doing this at home. So I'm gonna try and go all the way around the edge of my heart. Okay, so I have finished stitching all the way around my heart. So what I need to do now is to tie a knot so it will stay. Now you never want to tie a knot in the front where you can see it. So we're going to make sure our knot is on the back where we can't see it. Now a good rule is that you always want to stop when you have about a hand's length of string left. And that's so that you have enough string so that you can tie a knot. If you stop sewing when you only have like an inch or two left, well, you don't have enough to tie a knot with. Okay, but I have plenty. This is longer than my hand, so I have enough. Okay, so I'm gonna show you this up close so you can see it. Here's where my string came out. So I am going to put it back through the last little stitch that I have. Do you see how it's going through the stitch? I'm gonna put that needle through there, and then I'm getting a loop. You see that loop that's forming? So now I'm going to put the needle under the loop and up through it, and let's see if it makes a knot. Yay, it did. So now you've got a nice little knot, and I'm gonna show you once more so you can see it. So I'm gonna put it back through the last little stitch. And there's my loop. So I'm gonna put my needle through the loop, keep pulling, and there we go. There's my little knot. So now I can cut that. And so far, all of my knots are gonna be on the inside of my little stuffed animal so you can't see it. Pretty nice, huh? Okay, I'm gonna use the white thread again, and I'm going to sew this little rainbow that I did here. So because my rainbow is 3 different layers, I'm gonna have to make sure I stitch around all 3 layers so that they stay, right? All right, so I'm gonna do that right now. I forgot to mention, I'm gonna re-thread my needle again. Since I had a little bit left, but not quite enough. So I'm just gonna do exactly the same thing as before. Pull out a little bit of thread. I'm gonna use my little needle threader, or if you're really good at this, you could just put it through the eye of the needle, open it up, put my yarn in like a hot dog, close, and I'm gonna just pull the end of the string until it's hidden inside. And now I can just put that needle threader through the eye of the needle, and there you go. So once you've done that, remember you need to tie a knot, making the 2 ends tied together. So I put my two ends together, I make a loop, I just kind of go around my thumb, there's my loop, and then I put the end through the loop, both ends, and make a knot. And I'm gonna do that 4 times so that I make sure my knot is big enough. Oh, look at that. I got 2 knots kind of close together, but I think I can fix that. Let's see if I can fix that by doing another knot. Oh, almost. I got 2 of them. I think I can do one more. Let's find out. Let's see what happens. Yes, it worked. Awesome. Okay, so now I'm ready to start to sew my rainbow together. All right, so I am gonna switch to black thread right now so that I can stitch the inside of the eye on both eyes. And then I'm also going to do a running stitch to make the smile for my little monster. So I'm gonna switch to black thread and do those 2 parts.